Construction barriers in place at Spanish Springs Town Square. A vehicle bursts into flames at a shopping plaza in the Villages. Villagers are sounding the alarm in concern with traffic at the new Costco. A drunk driver with 3 DUIs arrested in the Villages in a golf cart. ICE place a hold on an Oxford Oaks man arrested at 7-Eleven. Wildwood makes big changes about the rules of bars, but the Villages are exempt. Villager's son was arrested after crossing 441 in a golf cart. How many holes in one's a golf do we get this week? Letters to the editor. More updates. This and more coming up. Okay, thanks everybody for joining us this week on this Friday's news. Got a couple of updates. Let's get them out of the way. A villager charged with hit and run after allegedly crashing into a golf cart and fleeing the scene wants a judge to lift her restrictions placed on her driving privileges. Noreen Neverly, 75 of the Village of Hillsborough, is facing a felony charge of hit and run after allegedly striking a golf cart last month with her sport utility vehicle. The Chicago native remains free on a $5,000 bond. However, a judge ordered that as a condition of her bond, she cannot drive for any purpose other than doctor's appointments. Neverly has retained criminal defense attorney Christopher Klimowicz, who is also representing villager Richard Keel, charged with DUI manslaughter in the death of a villager's daughter who fatally fell from a golf cart he was driving. This past week, Klimowicz filed a motion in Sumter County Court asking the judge to relax the driving restrictions placed on his clients. I think I've got an update on that too. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Here is a list of reasons he argues that his client needs to be able to drive. Neverly is a lone driver in the household. Her 82-year-old husband is fully disabled. He also needs to attend workouts 3 times per week at a recreation center in addition to seeing a physical therapist. She needs to be able to drive to the postal station. She needs to be able to go to the grocery store and to the bank. Her dog has veterinary and possibly other appointments. Her lawyer has indicated that Neverly's car was impounded by the Florida Highway Patrol as part of the investigation. That means his client will have to rent a car according to the motion. That's the reason why she says she needs to get out. She needs to be able to go to the grocery store and to the bank. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, well, she can always take the golf cart. No, that's driving. I've said it before. You lose your driving privileges here in Florida. That means you can't operate the golf cart either. You can't operate any motorized or technically an electric vehicle like an electric bike. You're not even supposed to operate those. A judge says you can do that. Personally, I think that's a bit much, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it is. We'll see. There'll be more to the story. Oh, here's an update on the child porn guy from last week. A villager facing 30 criminal counts of possessing numerous images showing little boys in pornographic poses has entered a plea in the case. Jeffrey Lynn Weaver, 68, of the village of Case and Hammock, has entered a plea of not guilty in the case in Sumter County Court. He continues to be held without bond at the Sumter County Detention Center, where he has been lodged since his April 10 arrest. And that'll be his update. Let's have some more news. And thanks for joining us this Friday, as in every Friday. Construction barriers are now in place at Spanish Springs Town Square. The construction barriers signal the beginning of the first phase of a major renovation at the Florida's first town square, which is now more than 3 decades old. Earlier this year, the Village Center Community Development District Board of Supervisors approved a bid of $1.2 million from G&G Construction of Marion County Incorporated for the first phase of improvements at the village's original town square. The project is aimed at improving the attractiveness of the square. The improvement consists of pedestrian decorative paving, new raised seating areas and planters, tile work, precast concrete work, handrails, landscape, irrigation improvements, as well as electrical and lighting improvements. In addition to the work funded by the VCC-DD, the developer has announced projects including renovations at La Reina Building. That will include improvements to the vacant restaurant and patio area that was previously home of Gators Dockside. The renovations will necessitate moving and canceling some entertainment events. Nightly entertainment at the gazebo will continue, but the Cinco de Mayo festival will be canceled at Spanish Springs. The monthly cruise-in set for April 19th will go on as planned, but the brakes will be put on the monthly car shows during the duration of the renovation project. As of May 3, the Spanish Springs, Mercada, and Market Nights will be moved to Brownwood, where they will be packaged into larger events. Show will continue as planned at the Sharon L. Morris Performing Arts Center. Well, there you go. That's the update on the big remodel project of Spanish Springs. Villagers concerned about traffic are sounding the alarm ahead of the opening of the new Costco in
Florida's friendliest hometown.
An opening date has not been announced for the new Costco, which is one of the most highly anticipated retail additions in the history of the Villages. That's true. It seems like everybody can't wait. However, villagers, particularly those living near Buffalo Ridge Plaza, are worried about the traffic of the new Costco will attract in an already busy commercial area. Hobby Lobby opened in 2023. Earlier this month, Betty Harmon, who bought her home in the village of Polo Ridge in 2070, spoke out before the Community Development District 3 Board of Supervisors about her concerns. She says speeding and accidents have become the norm. Karen Orlando of the village of Summerhill feels the same way. I am so opposed to this huge store coming in because it is going to bring horrible traffic congestion to the area. While villagers are worried about a looming traffic problem due to the new Costco, villagers navigating the intersection of State Road 44 and Morris Boulevard are already coping with a traffic nightmare. A new Walmart being built at that intersection is still months away from opening. In March, Village of Osceola Hills resident turned out in force to complain about Sumter County Commission about chronic traffic jams at that intersection. Commissioners have ordered a $50,755 study by Kimley, Horn, and Associates, which is expected to be completed by June. While the study is being prepared, crews are working at a brief pace on the new Walmart and a new Hooters restaurant at Lake Deaton Plaza. Traffic is going to become an issue. It already is. A vehicle burst into flames Sunday at a shopping plaza in the Villages. The Villages Public Safety Department responded to the vehicle fire at about 11 a.m. near Walgreens at Pinellas Plaza. 2 people were quickly evacuated from the truck as firefighters worked to put out the fire and to protect the nearby commercial structure. Once the fire was out, crews began overhauling to make sure the fire was completely extinguished, said Robert Ramage, Deputy Chief of Operations for VPSD. There were no injuries. The exact cause of the fire is undetermined. The fire was not deemed suspicious, Ramage added. Picture looks kind of scary to be in that truck. I'd have bailed out of that sucker. The son of a couple in the Villages has been arrested after illegally crossing U.S. Highway 441 in a golf cart. David Robert Morgan, 63, who lives with his parents in the village of Santa Domingo, was arrested at about 5 p.m. Wednesday after his blue golf cart was spotted crossing the highway near Bella Cruz Drive. According to an arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office, golf carts are prohibited by state statute from crossing U.S. Highway 441. During a traffic stop, the Chicago native admitted he did not have a driver's license. The deputy confirmed that Morgan's license was suspended due to a drunk driving conviction and unpaid tickets. He was arrested on a charge of driving while license suspended and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. Morgan has a long history of arrests. Last year, he served 18 days in jail after he was convicted of unlawfully casting an election ballot. In 2023, he got into an altercation with a woman. When police investigated the incident, Morgan admitted he had been drinking, which was a violation of his terms of probation. He was arrested in 2021 after unexpectedly showing up at a home of his estranged girlfriend on the historic side of the Villages and punching her 4 times near her right eye with his fist. He threw her to the ground and attempted to choke her. In February of 2020, Morgan was arrested after a woman told law enforcement that he called her a bitch as he punched her and held her down on a bed by her throat. In 2019, Morgan had been employed as a server at Red Lobster in the Villages, but he quit his job and left with $179.85 that belonged to the restaurant, according to the arrest report. When interviewed by the deputy at his home, Morgan turned over the money. Morgan said he quit his job because the manager was being disrespectful to him. I think maybe this guy should think about what he does. It might be a little bit of disrespectful himself. And let me ask you this. How does the guy get arrested this many times and he's still walking the streets? You know, the retirement community, do you expect this? Really? We're not a normal city. We're a retirement community, for God's sake. And do you expect people like this to be walking around here amongst us, old retired people? I mean, come on. This is just a city with a bunch of old people living in it and perverts. A Wildwood man was arrested for battery after allegedly grabbing his estranged wife's wrist when she tried to stop him from grabbing her purse. A deputy responded to a domestic battery at an undisclosed Wildwood residence at 1:30 p.m. Tuesday, according to the arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. Upon arrival, he spoke with the victim, that later identified as the estranged wife of 58-year-old Tracy Weston Smith. At the time, he was out on bond for a lewd and lascivious case involving touching a young girl at a racetrack. The victim advised that about 20 minutes before she called 911, Smith arrived at her residence to pick up a renter's check. He became irate with her regarding a dispute over how much money would be split between them. He then went over to her purse in an attempt to grab the renter's check. The victim tried to take her purse back from Smith, but he grabbed both her wrists. He proceeded to leave the residence, walk up to the victim's vehicle parked in the driveway, and tried to open the door. However, the door was locked, causing him to return to his own vehicle, the report said. Due to Smith touching the victim and his being irate, she tried to grab an undisclosed thing from his vehicle's front passenger seat. While the car door was open, Smith put the vehicle in reverse and began backing up. The passenger side door struck the victim as a result, although she did not sustain any obvious injuries, the report said. The victim provided outside security footage that showed Smith getting into the driver's seat with the victim shortly after opening the front passenger door. The vehicle began to reverse, causing the victim to retreat backwards before stepping away from the car door, the report said. The deputy spoke with Smith upon arrival, advised that he was not going to talk without his attorney present. He had small red patches of skin on his forearm, but the deputy was unable to determine if the injuries were fresh or old. Smith was subsequently arrested on charge of aggravated battery. He was transported to Sumter County Jail to be held without bond, which was revoked due to the previous pending criminal case. An Oxford Oaks man was arrested after an unwelcome visit to a local 7-Eleven. Juan Martin Baltazar, 34, who listed an address on Zimmerman Path at the development of US 301, was arrested on a charge of trespassing at about 7:30 p.m. Sunday at the 7-Eleven at 11760 North US 301, according to the arrest report from the Wildwood Police Department. The native of Mexico had previously been banned from the convenience store. He was taken into custody and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has put a hold on his custody. A drunk driver with 3 previous convictions for driving under the influence was arrested in a golf cart in the Villages. Patrick Michael Fonse, 46 of Summerfield, was driving a golf cart late Wednesday night in the village of Silver Lake when a police officer noticed the golf cart only had one working headlight, according to an arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department. During a traffic stop, the officer discovered that Fonse has been classified as a habitual traffic offender and has 3 DUI convictions. Fonse was unsteady on his feet and smelled strongly of an alcoholic beverage, according to a report. There was an open beer can in the golf cart's cup holder and an empty Heineken beer bottle in the basket. The Heineken bottle's cap was found in Fonse's front pocket. He was also in possession of marijuana and marijuana grinder and rolling papers. Fonse refused to provide a breath sample initially, declaring that he did not speak English. He later said he would not give a breath sample because his license was already suspended. He's right. Fonzie was arrested on felony charges of driving under the influence and driving while license suspended. He was arrested on misdemeanor charges of refusal to submit to a breath test, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia. He was booked at the Lady Lake County Jail on a $15,500 bond. How many times do you get arrested for DUI before they finally throw away the key? A Village of DeLuna man was arrested after an intoxicated brawl with his girlfriend. Timothy Wayne Loudon, 46, who resides with his mother in the Villages, is accused of grabbing a 48-year-old Lisa Geraldine Taglianti by the throat during an altercation on April 22 at her home in the Pepper Tree Apartments, according to the arrest report from the Wildwood Police Departments. Landy, who stands 6 feet 1 inches and weighs 185 pounds, also struck her on the right side of her face with a closed fist 3 times. Tagliani had suffered redness and bruising on her neck and the right side of her face. Tagliani told police Loudon was intoxicated and claimed he said he wanted her dead. However, Loudon had also suffered scratches on his neck and shoulder area, and his shirt was torn. Loudon and Taglianti were each arrested on charges of battery. Both were booked at the Sumpter County Detention Center and were released after posting $500 bond each. A Summerfield pair was arrested on drug charges after being stopped in the Villages of Silver Lake on the historic side of the Villages. An officer observed a dark Honda SUV on Devon Drive approaching Dustin Drive at around 9:45 p.m. Tuesday, according to the arrest report from the Lady Lake Police Department. The vehicle's occupants, later identified as 54-year-old William Albert Windsor and 54-year-old Margaret Ann Malance, ignored a stop sign at the intersection, leading to the officer to conduct a traffic stop. As the driver, Windsor was told the reason for the stop. He stated he was in a rush to get to an auto parts store at 9:45 at night. The officer then asked him if there were any illegal narcotics in the vehicle, to which he said no. A K-9 unit subsequently arrived on the scene and sniffed around the outside of the vehicle. The K-9 alerted to the presence of narcotics, and the officer noticed a clear plastic baggie containing an illegal substance at the front passenger side wheel on the street. Windsor and Malance were taken out of the vehicle as a result. A search of the occupants revealed nothing. However, inside the center folding console of the vehicle was a clear Bic pen with white substance that tested positive for fentanyl. The officer read Windsor his rights and he agreed to talk. The officer asked about the plastic baggie, which was thrown from his vehicle, but he denied knowledge of it. He instead advised that Malance used methamphetamine and possibly threw it out of the car. He was not too sure. He also stated he had not used methamphetamine in a while. The officer moved on to Malance, who stated when they pulled over for the traffic infraction, Windsor reached into the center console and grabbed a bag from it. He told her to throw it out the window and roll the window up, the report said. He said, she said. Malance also advised that she had not used methamphetamine in a while because she was out on bond and did not want to get into trouble. The last time she used it was about a week ago, he said. These are such ridiculous statements. Windsor and Malance continually argued over who had the narcotics. The clear baggie later tested positive for methamphetamine and weighed 1.84 grams. Windsor was ultimately arrested on charges of possession of methamphetamine and drug paraphernalia. The Maryland native was transported to Lake County Jail with bond set at $3,500. Malance was arrested on charges of possession of methamphetamine and tampering with physical evidence. The Illinois native was jailed with a bond set at $5,000. Hey kids, get your story straight before you get pulled over. That's what a smart one would do. How about this? After you've been arrested and released from jail 2 or 3 times from drugs, how about we just quit it? Just stop doing drugs. You don't need it. Wildwood bars now may stay open until 2 a.m. after commissioners Monday night approved a wide-ranging amendment to ordinances related to alcohol and advertising. The amendment also exempts the Villages portion of Wildwood from most of the city's restrictions. All the villages south of State Road 44 and areas northwest to County Road 466A are within the Wildwood city limits. The amendment extended bar closings until 2 a.m. from midnight and eliminated extra hours permitted for New Year's Eve and restaurants. The village's area is exempt from restrictions on posting advertising materials or placing banners across city streets. A prohibition on having an unsealed container of alcohol in a public park or on a city street or sidewalk does not apply to non-residential and recreational areas of the villages. However, it does apply to streets, sidewalks, and parks in the villages if they are maintained by Wildwood. Alcohol sales or coin-operated skill machines are not permitted within 30 feet of a church or school, but the villages is exempt. Keep in mind, we have schools here. Villagers are not required to obtain Wildwood permits for special events, parades, and sound trucks. I have no idea what a sound truck is. A fearful wife called 911 after her husband allegedly threatened to kill her during an attack at their home in the villages. Deputies responded at about 6:30 p.m. Sunday to a home in the village of Duval, where 67-year-old Rodney Jean Kelso was arrested on a charge of felony battery, according to an arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. Kelso's wife told deputies she and her husband had been arguing for most of the day, and he struck her in the face when she asked him questions about missing documents. Kelso apparently became enraged and threw a large porcelain decorative plaque which hit the floor and shattered near her feet. She retreated to a spare bedroom, but Kelso followed her, pushed her into the bed, and began twisting her neck. "Do you want me to kill you?" he asked her. He released her, and she was able to call 911. She told deputies she was fearful of prosecuting Kelso due to his violent behavior. She signed a waiver of prosecution. She had redness on her neck and a small laceration on her upper lip. She refused medical treatment. Kelso was taken into custody and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. Bond was set at $1,500. I hope you held on to that guy for a cool-off period anyway. A villager's son who terrorized a neighbor has been found incompetent to stand trial. This past week in Sumter County Court, Judge Mary Hatcher found that 35-year-old Joshua Joseph Duffy Sendacino is mentally unfit to stand trial after his arrest more than a year ago in an attack on his mother's neighbor. A competency evaluation had been ordered to determine if Duffy Sendacino, who has a history of violent attacks in
Florida's friendliest hometown,
should be prosecuted. The case has now been stricken from the court docket. He had been living with his mother on Dyson Loop in the village of DeLuna when he was arrested March 8, 2024 on felony charges of burglary and battery. Duffy Sendacino allegedly walked into the kitchen of a neighbor's home, punched him in the face, and then struck him on the chest and shoulder, according to the arrest report from the Wildwood Police Department. The man attempted to fight back, but was kicked in the leg by Duffy Sendacino. The man tried to push Duffy Sendacino out of his residence, but Duffy Sendacino fought back, and the pair began kicking and punching each other. Duffy Sendacino eventually fled, but vowed to kill the man if he called law enforcement. Duffy Sendacino's mother originally persuaded a neighbor not to press charges on her son, who had been sentenced in 2017 to jail time after attacking a man at the Chula Vista Recreation Center. She eventually told her neighbor her son was to receive mental health treatments. However, when Duffy Sendacino's mother later told her village of DeLuna neighbor that her son was to be released from a facility and would be returning home, the man panicked and called police. The man changed his mind and wanted to pursue charges. Duffy Sendacino was also arrested in 2022 on trespassing charges, in 2023 on contempt charges. Sounds like a good citizen in a retirement community. How about holes in ones on golf? J.P. Schroeder of the village of Linden got his first hole in one on Saturday, April 26th at hole number 5 at the Mangrove Executive Golf Course. Congratulations, J.P., on your hole in one. How about some letters to the editor? To the editor, if you can't see to drive without street lights, do not drive your golf cart at night. Use some common sense about this issue. Do you have any evidence that shows not having reflectors being an issue? At some point, you will have to give up driving your cart at night. That's sent in by Bill Harlan from the village of Collier. Well, thank you, Bill. The problem is, and I don't want to say too much about it, because we had trouble with my dad. He had Alzheimer's. And I'll tell you what, trying to convince somebody 90 years old, 85, that area there, maybe even older, trying to convince them that they need to stop driving, it's a battle. It's a battle of wits. It's a battle of mind. Forget the common sense. It's a battle. To the editor, the Villages is a housing complex with delusion of grandeur. You heard how many compared themselves to Manhattan? Completely overblown about their importance. Their size is as ridiculous as the name is unimaginative. I don't believe they will be able to handle the extra growth, but does that really matter? Does it? That's sent in by Brian McFarlane. Doesn't say whether he lives here or not. To the editor, there should be a freeze put on the amenity fee for us in the northern part of the Villages. I'm going to stop right there. I don't think you can do that. That's discrimination. I mean, I understand what you're doing, and I'm not so I don't disagree with that. I'm just simply saying I don't think you can give somebody a discount on something and not give it to everybody else when we're all living in the same area. And what's your excuse for that? You can't say, well, because we're older. That's age discrimination. Listen, I don't make the laws, but they got to follow them. Most of us are now much older since moving here, and a significant percentage of us have a lower income due to losing our spouse. When most of us moved into this area, the fee was $145 a month. Now we are getting close to $200 or more with less income. Therefore, I am voting for a freeze. That's sent in by Karen Shear from the village of Woodbury. Well, I'd like to see a freeze too. Even the one lady last week, I think it was, that wrote in, and I thought it was very sensible. She said, getting a permanent freeze is ridiculous. It's not going to happen. I kind of agree with that. And she said, but maybe a temporary freeze for 2 or 3 years until all this kind of settles down, that would help a lot. And I agree with that. So maybe that's the answer. Okay, I think that's going to be the news for this week. I appreciate each and every one of you coming to the show and watching it. Hit the subscribe button. Give us a comment. Give us a thumbs up. All that helps according to YouTube's analytics. They go by thumbs up after 24, 48 hours. They go by how many comments in 24, 48 hours, how many views. Tell your friends about my channel. And I got a bunch of new, more Patreon members this last week. I appreciate each and every one of you. Y'all got your Discord link. I seen some new people on Discord last night. 2 big things you'll get there from me on Patreon is, one, you're going to get a Discord link. It's a private members only Discord link. I got to send you the link, and I do after you join. And then the other thing that you'll get is whenever we have we call it Patreon lunch, but actually it's just members lunch, because I tell YouTube members also. And once you get that, you'll get that where we're going to have it, what time, where we're at. Matter of fact, I think we got something coming up this month. And you get to meet people, put a face with a name. So I'm just going to get out of here, and I'm just simply going to say, be well. Take care, be aware, take care of your health.
And don't leave your key